I don't know what it is about pumpkins in grocery stores that gets me, but it does. I was at Trader Joe's yesterday and I walked in and I was assaulted by a display of mini baby pumpkins. And it was not until that point, and exactly that point, that I realized that it was fall. For whatever reason, I can never really comprehend that it's fall until I go into a grocery store and there are pumpkins. Starbucks, Dunkin' can have their pumpkin spice, fall flavored whatevers, and I'll be like, yeah. They're ahead of their time. But until I go into a grocery store and there are pumpkins, it is not fall. People have been posting fall-ish videos, and I was like, oh, they're just ahead of the curve. Curb, I never know. Curb? Curve. It's the curve, but I think that ahead of the curb has a nicer ring to it. But I didn't realize that it was fall until yesterday, and then I was like, oh, I gotta get going. I had a fall video planned, but I was like, I'll do that in November, December, January, February. But then I saw the pumpkins, and now here we are. Trader Joe's also had a ton of seasonal items. That's like their whole brand, kitsch. I love kitsch. I'm not dunking on them, I love kitsch. I almost bought a whipped maple butter, which was just whipped maple syrup. I thought it would be wonderful on a bagel or something, but I didn't get it. Let me know if you've tried any of the fall things at Trader Joe's. I did get a protein bar that was pumpkin spice flavored. It was the barbell one, so I was like, sure, I'll try it. I like pumpkin spice every now and then. It's just like, what, cinnamon and sugar? Isn't that what pumpkin spice is? Is it even pumpkins? Anyway, it's fall, and someone recently commented on one of my videos that I don't talk about myself enough, so for that one person, I would like to tell you that my name is Charles. In the spirit of divulging my deepest, darkest secrets, I'll let you know what I did today. It is now about noon. It is a gloomy day. It is about to rain. It might have drizzled a little bit earlier, but I never pay attention enough to tap. It'll probably rain later today. It's gloomy, that's why lighting's a little yellow, because I have a lamp on. Right before this, I woke up a little before 12. Woke up, got a coffee, Panera, classic, with honey and cinnamon and milk. Hot. I go back and forth. Usually I just get a plain black coffee, but not actually plain, because I put milk, usually just 2%, sometimes half and half, sometimes almond milk for the like nutty flavor, sometimes all three of them, sometimes none of them, but rarely none of them. I only do black coffee if I really want to just like sip it, you know? Then I went to Whole Foods, and I was only there for one thing. I just wanted some celery. I don't know why it's so hard to find decent celery. At Trader Joe's they have them in a 2-pack, and they're usually not great, so I just get celery from Whole Foods. And that was all I came for, and I ended up leaving with a cart full of stuff. It's how it usually goes. I'll keep you posted on if there were any scores. I also ended up eating a slice of supreme pizza, whatever the pizza is, with everything on it. Sausage, peppers, pepperoni, you know. Had a piece of that. It was gigantic, and it took me out. I knew it would take me out. That's why you don't have pizza for breakfast. I was in bed for 30 minutes before I was like, oh, I gotta film. I'm a superstar. I have fans to please, money to make, fame to achieve. So I got out some carrot juice, and here we are. You can't go to Whole Foods without getting a slice of pizza. It's criminal. It's criminal. It's criminal. Their pizza is cheap, relatively. It's like $4 a slice. They're like big slices usually. And it feels like healthy pizza because it's from Whole Foods. It can't possibly be as carcinogenic as Little Caesars. What else did I get? Oh my god! The hot bar at Whole Foods, usually a terrible deal. One time I went there and got a plate of food, and it was like $30, which was obscene. And from then on I was like, you know what, I might have to tap out of the Whole Foods hot bar. Just in general, hot bars, not with it. But today they had fish, and so I got 3 fillets, just the fish fillets, because I am not paying $15 a pound for mashed potatoes. I'm not paying $15 a pound for rice. So I just got the fillets. Then I went down south, sat and ate my pizza, and got 3 more fillets. And I'll just make my own carbs at home to go with that. It was a score. It was a score. Whole Foods, you don't have shit on me. I feel like I'm screaming. I have a very nice mic. There was no need to yell. What else did I do? Looked for some books for this TBR. This is a TBR video, basically. I have not read any of these books, really. I've read one. We'll get to it. But I haven't read these books. These are just all the books that I've been staring at for the past month and being like, I want to read those soon. They've been calling to me, and so here we are. This is the books I plan to read this fall. That's the stack. If I read 2 of these, it will be a slam dunk, touchdown, home run. There's no way I'll read more than 2 of them, but I'm telling you, some honorable mentions. This isn't necessarily a themed video, although this selection does vacillate between basically arguably genre fiction, kind of, and books that you are too dumb to understand, but you pick up anyway because you think they'll make you smarter and hotter. Books for faux intellectuals. But apart from that, I wasn't trying to curate them. The theme was kind of after the fact of the books I picked out. And so I left out a lot of books that I own that could be considered really fall-y, some honorable mentions that I didn't include because I'm not quite in the mood, but might anyway, just because they're not included on this list. I'll probably be contrarian and pick those books up instead of any of the books on this list, but honorable mentions are Tana French, in particular In the Woods and Broken Harbor, which one of you guys recommended. Also Salem's Lot. The only reason Salem's Lot by Stephen King is an honorable mention is because I couldn't find the book. I know I own it and it's somewhere, but I couldn't find the book, and I'm feeling generous and would like to give Stephen King another shot. If I owned 11/22/63, I would probably put that on this list, but I don't own it and I'm trying to get through my books. Another honorable mention, Shirley Jackson's We Have Always Lived in the Castle. I've read that one, The Haunting of Hill House. I own that. Not inclined to. I don't know. The supernatural doesn't really do it for me, but I'm sure it's great. There's probably a supernatural book on this list. Salem's Lot is supernatural, but Stephen King is ridiculous enough to me that I don't care. I really don't care. I'm not going in taking that book seriously, so I don't mind. That's pretty much it for honorable mentions. There are books by authors on this list who are fall adjacent. Daphne du Maurier. I only picked one of her books, but I own, like 3 more that could have been in this place and that I'm also eyeing. Let's get into the books. The first book on this list is The Silence of the Lambs by Thomas Harris. I've seen the movie and I thought it was great. I was convinced to pick up the book when this beautiful 25th anniversary edition came out, and I found out that the reviews of it are actually really great. A lot of times with a popular movie, I think it's based off a book with little merit, but someone picks up the storyline, thinks it would make for a great movie. And that's what I thought was the case with Silence of the Lambs, but apparently it is of literary heft. And so I've been excited to read this, but I don't know, I always feel constrained to the second half of the year, and it always passes me by, but hopefully this fall I'll get to it. I'm really looking forward to it, and enough time has passed since I've seen the movie that I don't feel like I'll just be reading the spark notes of the movie. I'm looking forward to it. Next book on this list is Henry David Thoreau's Walden. Look at this beautiful vintage copy I bought at Goodwill. This was featured decently prominently in a great book I recently read, and that convinced me to bump it up on my list, and it's recently really been calling to me, so I probably will get to this fall. I don't know what Walden is about other than kind of just renouncing a lot of responsibilities and spiritual weight, per se, is my understanding. That Henry David Thoreau went to the woods, lived his life, had his little cabin. I think that's what this is about. Part memoir, part life philosophy-y. I don't know. I'm not big into a nature, self-helpy book, and that's kind of what Walden has felt to me up until recently. And also, I only bought it because look at this beautiful copy. So I'm looking forward to that. as I am looking forward to every book on this list. Next book on this list, nonfiction has been calling to me again recently, and the one on this list, I can't remember if there are others, but this is In Other Words by Jhumpa Lahiri. She wrote Interpreter of Maladies, a great short story collection, great for fall if you haven't read it, but I think that she wrote this in Italian and translated it herself to English. She and her family moved to Italy, she learned Italian, and I think this might be the first book she wrote in Italian. I'll read you the back. On a post-college visit to Florence, Pulitzer Prize winning author Jhumpa Lahiri fell in love with the Italian language. 20 years later, seeking total immersion, she and her family relocated to Rome, where she began to read and write solely in her adopted tongue. A startling act of self-reflection, in other words, is Lahiri's meditation on the process of learning to express herself in another language and the stunning journey of a writer seeking a new voice. I think that'll be really cool, and it's very, very short. Next book on this list, this is for you faux intellectuals, is Meditations by Marcus A. I don't really know what this is about. I think it's just kind of paragraph-y meditations, just ideas, thoughts, like a diary. It is numbered. The way the book is laid out is that it'll be like Meditations 5. It's divided into, it looks like 12 meditations, and within those it's just numbered list of 14, 15, 16, and I think it's just his musings. I don't know how to say his last name, but the back says this was written in the 2nd century AD by Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, beloved of his people for his humanity and humility while defending the frontiers of his vast empire against the constant attacks by barbarian tribes. He wrote the Meditations, his own personal thoughts on how a wise man should lead his life. Moral self-sufficiency, patience, tranquility, these were the Stoic tenets Marcus taught and lived by. The Meditations were one of the great philosophical works of pagan antiquity and helped prepare the classical world for the eventual spread of Christianity. This seems like a very approachable bit of philosophy that's not too inaccessible. I also found this at Goodwill or something like that, paid $1, so I was like, might as well give it a shot. There are other books on this list that are very similar. This feels like a more down-to-earth kind of art of war type beat. You know, like the commanding officer gives his thoughts on life. And I thought that it would be easy to parse through, particularly because it's numbered. Each meditation is, well, maybe they're 12, but each numbered within the meditations. I don't know. I'm sure that if I do pick this book up, I will not finish it. The next book on this list is Mary Gaitskill's Because They Wanted To. This is a short story collection. I finished Bad Behavior earlier this year. It's the best book I've read this year. I think you should read it if you like a sexy, sad, but not overly indulgent sad, not overwrought book. Short story collection. You should read Bad Behavior. It is crazy that my Barnes & Noble does not carry a single one of Mary Gaitskill's books. This is, I don't know anything about this other than that she wrote it, and it's another short story collection by her, and I'm excited to read more Mary Gaitskill. Next on this list is Frankenstein, not because I want to read this book, but because if I don't get to it this fall, I can't see myself ever picking this book up. I don't know. I really think that I will hate this book. I am not on my classic grind right now. I don't know. I have absolutely no thoughts other than that I think I will hate this book, which probably is a good thing because it means that if there is any merit in the book, I'll be like, whoa, it's crazy, it's great, because I have such low expectations. Another classic that I am really looking forward to is Lolita. Oh look, I actually did read some of it. Here's a bookmark. Page 14, didn't get far into it, but that was a long time ago. I would have read this a lot earlier, but like I said, I picked up Panin, P-N-I-N, I think that's how it's pronounced, and I thought it was arrogant, overwrought, annoying, and I really didn't like it. I was like, I don't think I get on with Nabokov or Nabokov. Who knows? For that reason, I ended up not picking up Lolita, and enough time has passed that I'm feeling generous enough to give him another go with a book that I meant to read a long time ago. There are also a lot of Lolita, not reimaginings, per se maybe, but books that are definitely in conversation, modern books that are in conversation with Lolita, and a couple of those have caught my interest. I think The Reader by Bernard Schlick, The Reader, I think that's what it's called. And that piqued my interest because I found it at Goodwill and bought it. But then I was like, I gotta get to Lolita. Hopefully it's not a letdown. I'm actually really excited to read it. Next book on this list is the only book I've read, and it has no words. That is The West Wing by Edward Gorey. This is a picture book. I think Edward Gorey is brilliant. The illustrations in this book are brilliant. They're so good. Gorey is famous for his, I think it's called cross-hatching, I don't know, when you use a pen. All he used, for the most part, was pen. He hated using color. Earlier this year I got halfway through a biography of Edward Gorey, and I was really enjoying the facts of his life, but the book itself was pissing me off because it was decently poorly written. Edward Gorey designed a series of book covers for, I think it was Doubleday, in the 1950s. They're gorgeous. He did, I don't know, 30, 40, something like that. And I was gonna put it on my video where I ranked classic editions, but I don't own any of the editions, except for maybe one, and I didn't know where it was. Edward Gorey is probably my favorite artist, definitely top 3, top 5, and his books largely flew under the radar because they're hard to classify. If you've heard of the Gashley Crumb Tinies, it's an A to Z book on how children die, but that's been his most popular, and the books are hard to classify because they're in the format of kids' books, but they're not, the content of them, a lot of people believe, is not compatible with kids' books. That being the case, they're not really found in the kids section of bookstores, and you can't really put them in. Nobody knew where to put them. There was a famous bookstore in New York, since closed. I think it was called Monster Books or something like that. It was really famous. I think a lot of authors loved it, Edward Gorey among them, and the owner of that bookstore put his books at the cash register. They're all tiny books. There's a stack of them right here. Do you see that? But they're all great. Most of them have words, and The West Wing is one of my favorite Edward Gorey books. Edward Gorey is perfect for fall. You should pick up one of his books. The next book on this list is Anne Bronte's The Tenant of Wildfell Hall. Half of the reason I want to pick up this book is because the cover is gorgeous, but also the synopsis, which I don't remember now what it's about, but it spoke to me when I read it. I hated Wuthering Heights, but I'm willing to give the sisters another go. Listen, I am not one to judge people based off their siblings or to make definitive assessments of people based on their siblings. On a similar note is Charlotte Bronte's Villette. Jane Eyre has not been calling to me, but Villette has. I read half of this, then set it down, never picked it back up. I was really enjoying Villette, and I'm looking forward to really enjoying the second half this fall. Next on this list, Philip Roth has been calling to me. Indignation is kind of an arbitrary book any of his books would do. If I was picking a Philip Roth book to read based off of the cover alone this fall, it would be Operation Shylock. This is a hardcover edition that I went through hell to own. I was traveling when I saw this at a vintage used book market, and I was like, I know who designed that cover. Not who designed it, but the painting on it is an Egon Schiele painting. Someone commented in one of my videos months ago that I look like an Egon Schiele painting, and that was one of the best compliments I've ever received. When I was at the used book market, I looked for this edition everywhere online, searched it up because I had absolutely no space to bring it, and a hardback book takes up a lot of space. And I couldn't find this edition anywhere, absolutely anywhere, on eBay, on nicer used book websites like Rare Books. I couldn't find it. I don't know if it's because people didn't sort by Egon Schiele, but also I did a broad hardcover search of Operation Shylock, and I could not find this edition, so I toted it all the way back here. I probably won't read it this fall, but the cover is beautiful. Next book on this list is kind of in the vein of meditations, and it is Confessions by St. Augustine. I don't really know what this is about other than that it seems like someone's musings on life. Like Meditations, it seems to be in a kind of vignette-y style in that it's just little entries per se. Numbered, book 5, and then it goes 1, 2, like the exact same format. And I thought that it would be fun to read someone's musings. These books have both really been calling to me. Probably wouldn't have bought them if I hadn't found them at Goodwill, but I did. And I've been increasingly interested to pick them up since I bought them. There was one more book like that on this list, and it is up next. That is the Book of Disquiet, which I did buy. I did not buy at Goodwill. This is in a similar vignette style. Do you see how it looks? Like 145 or 144, 145. And then it goes like that throughout the whole book. Kind of like the length of fairy tales almost, but some of them are really, really short. Some are only the length of a paragraph. This another musing book. This completes the trilogy of smart, tortured people musing on their own lives. This one may be a bit more tortured than the rest. Someone recommended this to me in a comment, and before that I'd already bought the book and I don't remember why. But I'm really looking forward to reading it, and it feels perfect for fall. This one I'll probably pick up before the other two, or maybe I'll read them concurrently. Closing out the list are a number of short story collections that feel fall. They're just scary short stories. The first of which is M.R. James's Casting the Runes, and other ghost stories. Don't know what it's about, but I'm intrigued. I think these are early 20th century, late 19th century ghost stories. Next on the list is Algernon Blackwood's The Wendigo and Other Stories. One of the greatest writers of the strange and weird, Algernon Blackwood evolved from a teller of ghost stories to a pioneering master of such emergent fictional modes as cosmic horror and nature gothic. Blah blah blah. I'm intrigued, more so than Casting the Runes. Next on this list is Cold Hand in Mind, Strange Stories by Robert Aickman, probably. I think that this cover jacket is designed by Edward Gorey. It looks like one of his earlier works. Yep. No. I mean, it is designed by Edward Gorey, but it's not one of his early works. Now, I don't know. It says 1977 by Edward Gorey, but it looks like the stuff that he was doing before he got uber famous. Well, he never got really famous, but before he solidified the style that became dominant in his little picture books. I think that's what he called them, little picture books. I don't remember. But this is a little more impressionistic, per se, and less deliberate cross-hatching, like The Hand. I don't know. Maybe they were just like design a cover and he was like, sure. Did it in 5 minutes. But the cover's beautiful, and these are just strange stories. This is probably the collection that I'm looking forward to most of the 4 scary short story collections that are on this list. The last book on this list and the last short story collection is Don't Look Now by Daphne du Maurier. This is the last book I bought from my Barnes & Noble before it went out of business. They reopened, but the original they deleted it, which I'm a little bit sad about because I don't love the new editions. I miss the warehouse, cold, high ceiling, weird tile floor, canal, bathroom, hallway, Barnes & Nobles. Maybe because that's what I grew up with, but also probably because I like them better. I don't like the new ones. I like that a lot of books are facing out, at least. And also, you can't be at Barnes & Noble anymore doing your own thing, really. It's always like you're in the open, people are watching you. You can't just be in an aisle looking at books that you want to. Oh, I didn't talk about the book at all. This is a short story collection by Daphne du Maurier. I read Rebecca last year and really, really enjoyed it. I might pick this up, might pick up My Cousin Rachel, might pick up Jamaica Inn, but probably I will pick up this really awesome New York Review book edition of Don't Look Now. I'm feeling tender toward short story collections and toward you. I'll see you soon.